Today's podcast is sponsored by Microsoft's new podcast, Security Unlocked. You can find links down in the description below. And next to me, you can find him.
Yeah. I'm the dementia that Brad has to deal with every morning. Today was a particularly good one.
I will tell you, Paul. So, no, it's frozen. They're going to get the whole thing because I'm not changing that. Like it's...
Oh, my God.
Yep. Anyways, so yesterday we discovered, and by discovered just meant, thought about it for more than an eighth of a second, my HDMI situation here to fix like my perpetual problem that I've just been dealing with for years and just refused to address, not like anything else in my life.
It's like the computer and the screen are right next to each other. This should work.
Yeah. Anyway, so... maybe embarrassing. I don't know. I didn't even know they made USB-C to HDMI cables without an adapter.
Yep.
Anyway, so I ordered one.
Mm-hmm.
It should be here Friday. The question is, will it be here Friday before? I guess Friday's tomorrow, isn't it?
It's Friday. Yes, it is, isn't it? That's funny because honestly, when you said that, I imagined 3 days out.
Yeah, I was thinking today was like Tuesday and it would be here by Friday.
It is tomorrow.
It is tomorrow.
Well, hopefully it will come in time for the podcast.
I'm going to go with probably not. But
it's a late day.
But we will see. Somebody actually I think it was Chris, made a comment after yesterday. They said, what's going to happen first? Is Brad going to get his HDMI cable or is Paul going to run his Ethernet?
Well, technically, I am running Ethernet. It's just running on the floor.
Anyways.
Here's what I'm thinking. I think we're closing in on the 1 year mark.
Yeah.
No, we're not. No, we're not. I was thinking I thought about this in December. Actually, I think I did. For some reason in my head, I think I started talking about this in December. And then when the pandemic started, that's when I just ran it on the floor just to get it because I was nervous about Mark coming home and soaking up all my bandwidth with his Reddit and his video games.
God, that scares... Can you hear what just happened?
Mm-mm.
So my furnace is right there, and I thought I set this thing up to not run like during the podcast time.
Like you have quiet hours for the podcast time for the
I do.
furnace?
I legitimately set I thought I set it, and I guess I didn't do it for every day but Thursday apparently. But my humidifier is attached to that thing, and it's a valve, and it's like a pretty like pungent like when the water starts, and like I bet if I don't know if the camera is on me or not, but every time that goes off, I'm like, oh geez, like because it sounds like running water because it is running water, and I'm sitting here in like multiple thousands of dollars of equipment going like, where's the water flowing? Anyways,
I can tell you what I don't miss is going down to the unfinished part of my basement in the old house and setting up in my, kidnap corner where they make the videos of the beheadings and stuff. And it's like, it was freezing down there. And I had these, because it's not heated, obviously. So I had these like space heaters on the floor. But it was just, God, it was like a dungeon. It was like a Hannibal Lecter thing in there.
You're a Hannibal Lecter thing. I mean, you were the person in the room.
That's right.
Anyway, so there was a weird acquisition yesterday, and it was odd. So this is the process that I went through. So Microsoft bought a website called Smash.gg, which is an esports platform.
Sorry to interrupt. Let me ask you this question because I asked Lilo this yesterday. GG.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What
Good game.
Mean? Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what it means. But of course, that domain is like a tiny island off of England. It's like the Gurney, I forget the first term, something of Gurney, Isle of Gurney. Yeah. Anyway, okay, do that. That's good. Okay. Good
anyway, so like I got this tip and like I saw this and it was just like a little banner on their site. And it's like, this feels weird or whatever. But this is an esports platform. So like naturally I'm thinking gaming, I'm thinking Xbox, and Paul will know this, but the PR firms for Xbox is completely separate for all the rest of Microsoft. Like literally there's all of Microsoft at one PR firm and then there's Xbox.
Edelman is the
Xbox
one and Wagner Ed's from
so
UE or whatever.
I see gaming. I'm like, hey, that's probably Xbox related. So I ring them up really quickly because obviously this is somewhat time sensitive. I'm like, hey, did you guys buy Smash.gg? And there was a lot of radio silence. And
yes, they had no idea.
They didn't. And this is why. Like, it all makes sense now. And like, yeah, we're looking into this, but like, I won't say what they said, but they were like, we'll look into this for you. I was like, thank you. And then I later get an email from the other PR firm. It says, yeah, we bought Smash.gg. And I'm like, why? Like, what is, like, yeah, MSN. MSN is acquiring it. I'm like, what? MSN? Like the website? Like, yeah, we're going to include some of that data on our site, and we bought them. And that's why Edelman had zero idea what was going on. So here we are.
Yeah. So right next to the baseball, football, basketball results will be esports results.
Yeah, but it's not even esports results is like the weird thing. Like this is a tool that you can use to originally it was for Smash like Smash Brothers for Nintendo. That's what started it. And like this is a tool you use to build community events. Like it's not even like ESPN of like esports. It's just something else. I don't know.
I regarded MSN as in the gaming world. I mean, this makes sense.
Yeah, like, and the other thing too was like they sent me this really bizarre link to a tweet like announcing it, and it was like MSN Esports. It had like 19 followers, like not verified. I'm like, this like anybody could have made this last week. There was really no real way to tie it back to whatever. But anyway, so Microsoft bought them, and we're not disclose some.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's the news, huh? That's what we got.
It's more of, as Microsoft would say, that was the journey to getting.
Actually, the journey is more interesting than the story in many ways. This has been a weird week because 2 days ago I wrote like 10 news stories, dude. 10.
Yeah.
And then yesterday it's like,
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot of that, I think, kind of coming up here because it's.
I can't control it, you know. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, some days it is not particularly good for news. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But if you're looking for things to do, Paul, Security Unlocked is a new podcast where Microsoft security evangelist Nick and Natalia take a closer look at the latest innovations in threat intelligence, security research, and data science with a special focus on demystifying artificial intelligence and machine learning. Be sure to listen in and subscribe with the links down in the description below. And this is not part of the sponsored read, but actually a couple people have already listened to it, and they actually commented on a couple of our posts and said, hey, like this actually is pretty good. So,
yeah, and for whatever it's worth, I don't know that you said this on the podcast, but you and I discussed this the other day. You said the same thing. Like, actually, it's a really good podcast.
Yeah, there's like two types of podcasts in my mind. There are ones that you listen to like in the afternoon and the evening, and that's kind of like, I don't know where we fall. We just fall like in the dumpster fire.
We just fall, Brad.
Yeah, we just fall. And then there's ones that you do like in the morning, like ones that kind of like, I don't know, fill your brain with like knowledge-y goop. And this is definitely more like a morning podcast because it's got a lot of like technical and good stuff in there, whereas we fill the thing with just more noise to the void.
Noise-shaped air.
Yeah. So anyways, I've known Nick for a long time, and I'm happy to see that he's been wanting to do this for years. I'm happy to see that they got this up off the ground. So anyways, other things that are up off the ground besides Miracast Network, Google, Paul wrote this up, but he wrote, so Google says you can all use like Street View and add pictures to it, which is great. That's not what I care about. Did you see that there's a news feed now coming to Google Maps?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, of course. Cause everything has to be ruined, you know? Yeah. I refuse to cover that cause I want to pretend it doesn't exist, but like seriously.
Here's my prediction, Paul. By the end of 2021, Google Maps stories will be a thing in that news feed.
Oh yeah, I would. Thank you. I was just going to say the same thing. There'll be a video link in the bottom that will be videos that people make at places, and that will be the point. But they'll be like TikTok videos.
Oh my God, this works out too.
I don't know.
Don't like they're going to listen.
Seriously, like it's coming, and Facebook and Instagram have both been ruined by this kind of thing. The Facebook one is particularly insidious because it's one of the main tabs in the mobile app. And there's only probably 3 or 4 tabs. And so one of them is whatever the video thing's called. It always has a notification icon on it to make you look at it.
Yeah.
And I always want to scratch my eyeballs out when I go over there and look at it.
You want me to give you a simulation of what it's going to be? Because here you go. Well, I'm just sitting here at Outback eating my rolls and my lobster. That's what it's going to do. That's what it's going to be.
Exactly. I know.
And yeah,
I technically just wrote about this in the premium newsletter on Monday. This notion that as time has gone on in my life, I've seen news go downhill, right? And so you can point to milestones like USA Today and CNN, which were like these innovations for the time, but they really contributed to the decline of quality.
Mhm.
And we arrive where we are today, where we can't read anything long form. We have tiny attention spans, and the content that we see is now made by amateur individuals and of incredibly varying quality. Obviously, some of it is pretty good, but the vast majority of it is frickin' terrible. And it's like the reality TV-ification of entertainment and
Yeah, it
news
really
and
is.
everything else. And look, I know some people are into it. Some people like TikTok, and there is some talented stuff happening. Of course, there is. I'm not dumping on the whole thing, but my God, like this trend is really dangerous. And something like Google Maps, which is obviously a super important tool, is the last place you want to see this happening. I don't mind individuals contributing to street, view photography, obviously, and that's something Google is going to, control in the back end and make, blur the faces and stitch it all together. You don't get to just publish, but oh my God, yeah, like user created content. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're part of the problem, for sure. I mean, we're part of that decline. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, it's, I don't know. I don't know how you spiral out of this. I really don't. I don't know how we
You
fix
actually
it.
pointed this out, and I had never done it until I bought my golf cart. And you'll see where this is going here in a second. Is we use an electrician to put in the outlet in the garage that I need because it was a 240 on a 50 amp breaker or 60 amp breaker. I can't remember. And it's just like, whatever, I'd rather pay someone to do this. And like the person that was recommended to us had just kind of gotten started doing this. And like, this is what his thing was. Like he left his job as an electrician to start his own thing. And he was just getting started. He's like, hey, would you do me a huge favor and just write like a Google review and take a picture of this thing?
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, you know what? He charged me a really fair price. He showed up on time. He was overly communicative and he was just good. I was like, all right, yeah, sure. So I did that, and now I get these emails all the time that says like 1,000 people have viewed your photo of, and all that it is just an outlet on a wall. It's like, hey, this guy did a good job.
Yeah, but he did good work. You can see it. I think what you're referring to is when we moved to Pennsylvania, we found a garage that was able to help my son really quickly because he had to go back to school and get his car inspected or whatever. And we now go to this guy regularly. Like he's amazing. He's just a great guy. But we wrote up a review, talked about how nice he was, and he tells it, he's like, you can't believe what business this drives. Like it's huge.
Yeah.
And it's really nice. I mean, it's nice. And I don't, this year's been weird because we don't really go out to eat all that much. I mean, and I sort of don't think this way anymore, but I would routinely, again, not so much this year, but I usually take pictures in restaurants, and you kind of see that stuff on Instagram, but I also try to put it on Google Maps. So when people view the restaurant, they'll see these photos.
Yep.
If it's a place I really like, and they'll want to go there. That kind of contribution I think is fine. But the dark side of this kind of contribution is the guy on Amazon who is either a bot or not a real person or didn't even buy the product, or they're complaining because the package arrived slightly smashed, 1 star.
Yeah.
It's like, do we really, is this what the world has become? Like,
yeah.
And yeah, the answer is yes.
It's going to be hilarious when you leave me, Paul, because you've become a Google Map influencer and you're just raking it in.
Dude, actually, my I don't know how I could find this quickly, but my photos on Google Maps, and again, I haven't really contributed much lately. Like I said, this year, let me see if I can find this, have been viewed some astronomical number of times. Here, let me bring this up. Yeah, over 21 million times.
Yeah,
21 million.
See, when they bring this out, I'm gonna become huge on Google Maps. That's my exit strategy from just society.
I can tell you from experience, it doesn't pay.
That's the thing. It's the perfect
I had one
model
photo
for
that was viewed 1.4 million times.
Yeah,
one photo.
It's the perfect model for Google. They take your content. They don't have to pay anything because there's nothing that they're not doing ads.
I gave it to them.
Yeah.
See, that's why it's perfect. They're not like stealing it. I gave it to them, But there's some pretty good pictures. It's funny because the top several places some of them are places I used to go regularly, like when I lived in Dedham or whatever. It's nice.
Yeah, I had a thing pop up. It was like last week. That was like where you were 5 years ago at this time, and it was in Paris.
Yep.
And I was like, man,
I get this every day on my
Yeah, you probably get a lot more than I do.
It's horrific. Yeah, because you go through these periods of time, like you and I travel on kind of set schedules. Like we kind of go to the same places or same types of events at roughly the same time every year, and it's like here we are in Washington D.C. I just picture you and me with the goofy green hats from New Orleans came up the other day.
Oh yeah.
Whatever, how many years ago that was, I don't remember, but yeah, I mean I love it, but it's also like this year it's like a little tough.
2021 will be better. That's what they tell us.
Better. Well, it's not technically true, is it? Let's hope it's better.
I mean, I would say it's hard to be worse, but I'm not going to jinx us with that curse, and then everybody can point back to that specific time and say he's a...
Thanks. You're supposed to knock on wood or something now. Okay, thank you. Protect the world.
As a reminder, today's podcast is sponsored by Security Unlocked, a new podcast from Microsoft. Check out the links in the description below or go to aka.ms/securityunlocked, or you can just click that right. Well, you can't really click an image, but you get the idea.